Good afternoon, and welcome to Lucia Jennings, our guest host, and her guest. Lucia Jennings is the president and founder member of the Brazilian American Chamber of Commerce of Georgia. She has served as an officer and board member for the organization for almost 13 years of existence. She has advised Brazilian business on how to penetrate the Georgia market and the U.S. companies doing business in Brazil as well. Lucia has worked tirelessly to assist Brazilian community in Georgia. Among many important initiatives, she works supporting the opening of the Consulate General of Brazil to Atlanta and work along the consulate to further develop the Brazilian-American business relationship. Lucia also has worked with the Coca-Cola Company for almost 18 years, which she currently holds the position of Demand Planning Manager for North America. In 2007, Lucia was named one of the 55 most influential foreign Atlantans by the Atlanta magazine. And of course, Lucia Jennings is one of the WCC Board of Directors. Welcome, Lucia, to the show, and welcome to your guests. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Solange, for inviting me to host this show today. And I just wanted to tell you how delighted we are to be here. And before I move on to the show, I wanted to say, Solange, you have been doing a great job in helping promoting the binational chambers by providing opportunities to showcase our chambers to the international business community in Atlanta. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you.
A little bit about the Brazilian Chamber, as you are giving me this opportunity. We have been in business for almost 14 years. This is our 14th year that we open. We are one of the first independent binational chambers in Atlanta. Another thing about the Brazilian Chamber, as you have mentioned, we were instrumental in bringing the Brazilian consulate to Atlanta in 2008. And with that in mind, we have just recently decided that we should open the Brazilian Chamber to the other states that the consulate covers in doing business. We have now scheduled to open an office in Birmingham, Alabama in April. And in June, we're going to be opening an office in Charlotte, South Carolina. We are very excited about all the interest Brazil has been given, and with that, we are reflected in the interest that we are receiving in our organization. I wanted to welcome our guests for the show today. We have Zélia Cardoso de Mello. She's former finance minister of Brazil from 1990 to 1991, and Dr. David Bruce, professor in the Institute of International Business at Georgia State University. He's also a former chairman of the Brazilian American Chamber of Commerce. I thank you both for accepting my invitation to be part of this show. What we're going to do here for the show is Dr. Bruce and I will spend some time interviewing Minister Cardoso. And then I want to ask Dr. Bruce some questions about the Institute of International Business U.S. Latin America Trade Program and his involvement in the Georgia-Pernambuco sister cities, or sister state chapters. Minister Cardoso, instead of reading your short bio, why don't I ask you to give us a brief introduction of yourself, your career, and your role as the Brazilian Minister of Economy and Finance? And how were you chosen to lead the economy of Brazil?
Well, thank you, Lucia, for the opportunity to be in this program. The work of the Chamber, the Brazilian Chamber, is wonderful and very helpful for Brazilian business, for all the Brazilian community, and it's a pleasure to be participating on an event sponsored by the World Chamber of Commerce and with Dr. Bruce from Georgia State University. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Now, to answer your question, most of my career was at Faculdade de Economia e Administração of the University of São Paulo. I I did my BA there and then my PhD in economics. And I was a professor at USP for many years, almost 20 years. And after, I also had some positions in the public sector, first in the state government of São Paulo, then in the federal government with former Ministro Dilson Funaro in 1986 when the so-called Cruzado Plan was launched in Brazil, and then in 1990 as a Minister of Finance of President Collor. And after leaving the ministry, I went back to the university, and many years later, I moved to New York, and now I'm only in the private sector. While I was in working at the federal government in 1986 and 7 with Minister Funaro, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Collor, who was then the governor of Alagoas, which is a state in Brazil. And later, when he decided to launch his campaign for president, he invited me to participate and coordinate the economic program. So I started to work in the campaign as coordinator for the economic program in 1989, beginning of 1989. And I guess that the invitation to be part of his cabinet came as a result of the work me and my team did during the campaign.
Excellent. What a brilliant career. And we're glad to have you here now in your current job. I guess you are a consultant for Aquila and Associates?
Yes, yeah.
Very good. Now, 20 years later, since you served as Minister of Economy and Finance, how is Brazil positioned in the global context?
Well, I think that Brazil is in a very good position now, certainly much better than it was 20 years ago. In the last 20 to 25 years, there were radical changes in the Brazilian economy. We used to be a very diversified economy with a big industrial park, but we were a closed economy, inefficient, without competition, without technological innovation, and with a very high state participation, and also with very high inflation. Brazil lived with very, very high rates of inflation during 30 years. So what happened in the last 20, 25 years, as I said, a lot of changes were made with privatization, commercial liberalization, the opening of the economy, also giving room for the private sector to be more active, and the public sector not to have such a big role in the economy. And later in 1995, with Plano Real, we finally achieved the end of inflation. We achieved price stabilization, and from then on, we really positioning ourselves very well to participate in the global economy. So I think now Brazil is in a very, very good position.